Loki isn't generating that pressure on his own the way top-tier Conqueror's Haki users do. He's not forcing that gap like Luffy and Kaido or even Big Mom has shown against Page 1, where they are pushing on an area into their opponent. There's no visual cues there either. There's just a blank space between Imu and Loki.
More specifically, what Lionel brought up earlier with what Rayleigh said about Haki, the fact that it's the act of not doubting. Do y'all think Loki's second attack was weaker just because, like, his reaction to the first attack being blocked so casually? Like, doubt started to creep into him. Like, oh, hold on.
How do you view Luffy's attack against Kaido when he was in the flame
Dragon Torch?
Flame Dragon Torch, right? Because I believe Luffy was using everything. Because we saw that Luffy's able to do it. And I'm trying to remember. I don't remember seeing the crack there. But you're talking about, like, the crack happens when two people are colliding in that way, right?
Again, adding to Emu's, like, tyranny and wickedness is... Clearly talking about sad about his father or whatever. And just, like, you thought you're hurt. I'm set back. You're just like, bro, that's his father.
It's my dad. My dad.
You know what I'm saying?
But he's my servant.
Just like, bro.
Emu's like that manager that all he cares about is work. Yeah. It's like, yo, my dad, all right, but why aren't you at work?
That Saturday
schedule
needs to
for
be covered.
today. You didn't tell us.
He's like, you're still coming in, right? What was that thing where it's like, well, you going to the funeral is not going to bring him back now. Like, that was in something. Like,
that's crazy. No, it was dope seeing Loki's charge up and stuff. And I thought it was just funny that Emu was just watching Loki do this, but knowing that it's not going to do anything. Like,
yeah.
Yo, he literally watched him charge up, power up his Haki and everything, and he just swung. And
he was like, is that it?
I noticed that Loki's and Emu's attack are not touching in their clash here. So that tells me Loki can infuse his attacks with Conquerors and arm it to the point where he cannot touch because they're both not touching in their clash here with Emu. But also, and I thought it was interesting that Emu and Loki's attacks are clearly touching in their second clash. So it's like, shows that you could kind of pick and choose when you want to and when you're going to clash or how much you're putting into it. But that was very funny. We clearly see them not touching in the first and then clearly touching in their second.
The attack that Loki decided to use was dope. I'm wondering if this is the same attack that he used to take out Herald, but it's named now. Curious at that. I agreed with Lionel. Like, Emu is such a troll. Like, the one who suffered the biggest setback was me. Like, come on, man.
It's so wild.
Like, he's so evil, it's wild. I really did think that attack was dope. And then, like Larry was saying, like, he so casually dealt with it. Like, just...
Yeah.
You didn't name it nothing.
Coming into this chapter, I fully expected Loki to show out. Narratively, everything was set up for him. The callbacks to King Herald, the sacrifice, the torment King Herald endured. It all built towards something Loki was going to unleash, and it was going to be major. I feel like that was 100% expected. So to me, there were only two possibilities. Either Loki comes out swinging with his strongest attack from this buildup right away, or Emu is going to completely embarrass him from the jump. Turns out somehow we got both. Loki gave us an attack we've never seen before. Every time we've seen Ragnar use lightning, it's usually generated from Loki to the hammer itself. We've yet to see lightning come from the sky and be imbued upon the hammer. That's completely different from what Loki has ever done with the hammer and its natural lightning abilities. That means Loki's tapping into something greater, in my opinion. And then, not only that, I may be mistaken because the manga is not color, but it looks like Ratatask is also imbuing some ice powers with it. I feel like we're seeing a little bit of snow around it instead of just lightning. Maybe I am wrong, though. I could be wrong, but I feel like Loki's gathering up all the power he has. He's doing a greater attack with lightning, probably adding Ratataskar's powers, and then using Conqueror's Haki all at the same time. Because this buildup is calling for it. And then Emu just blocks it. He blocks it effortlessly, too. Like, the dude is not, like, you know how usually, like, somebody be holding the spirit bomb and then, like, the ground under them be cracking because it's so strong? Emu doesn't even bother moving. Like, nothing is budging. He completely blocks it with Omen.
With one hand.
With one hand. So that's what I mean by the embarrassment part. When the Haki burst from that moment, I initially thought both of them were using Conqueror's Haki, but then I had to ask, why didn't the sky split? And if Emu's Haki is superior, why didn't he overwhelm Loki outright? I think those are two actual good questions. And then it clicked for me. This wasn't a true clash at all. Like Loki himself points out, Imu didn't meet his attack head on. He simply blocked it. And not just any attack, but what very well could have been Loki's strongest move in his base form if he doesn't have like a hybrid form that we know of, right? So even Loki is shocked how easily it was handled. That brings me back to a point I've made before about Loki, one that a lot of people disagree with, and even Lawrence had mentioned it in his take. If Loki is this enraged, convinced Imu is responsible for his father's passing, fully aware of how powerful Imu is because he sensed his Haki, right? And this is the moment he chooses to strike. To me, why isn't he using Advanced Conqueror's Haki? Lawrence thinks he does. I don't think he is. Now, here's why I say this. We've seen multiple instances that raise this question. During his clash with Herald at Oris Castle, their weapons were making contact. No sky split on their first clash. Then Loki landed a free hit on Herald without contact, which I initially attributed to the lightning. And now against Imu, the strongest character in the series, there's still no sky split and no clear indication of that advanced Haki being used. So what does that suggest? To me, it points to this. The space we're seeing between Loki and his target isn't Advanced Conqueror's Haki. It's the lightning itself creating that separation, just like it did against Herald. If this was a true Advanced Conqueror's clash, we've seen the same visual cues we've gotten before. The crack in the air between people like Roger and Whitebeard on that island when they met Odin, or Luffy and Kaido on Onigashima when Luffy was first using Conqueror's Haki. Even Rox and Herald showed that level of crack between their impact on Mary Joa. We didn't get that crack in the air here with Imu and Loki. So there's a clear difference right there on what type of Conqueror's Haki is being used. Now, because this wasn't a clash, it was a block. The same way Imu blocked Zoro. Both Zoro and Loki are essentially being stopped, not meeting Imu equally. And when it comes to spacing, Loki isn't generating that pressure on his own the way top tier Conqueror's Haki users do. He's not forcing that gap like Luffy and Kaido or even Big Mom has shown against Page 1 where they are pushing on an area into their opponent. There's no visual cues there either. There's just a blank space between Imu and Loki. Again, I'm not saying Loki can't reach that level, especially during this fight. But as of right now, the evidence of panels and support are just not there to support that he's using Advanced Conqueror's coding. If he's not using it here at his angriest against the strongest opponent with everything on the line, then when does he? So for now, I'm going with what the story is showing. Loki's Haki, while strong, is still lacking compared to the absolute top tiers. That's not a knock on him. It just means he's not fully there yet for me. With some growth, he could easily enter that realm. Like, he's right there knocking on the door. And honestly, the fact that Imu blocks him again just reinforces that because they didn't just clash once. They clashed twice. So do you think that Loki on the second clash would now make contact with Imu's Omen? I just don't think that would happen. It feels like Imu's actually just playing with his food. He's fighting everyone at the level beneath him because he views them as inferior. Yes, there is a time limit, but it's still a person who sees other people as insects, or even less than insects. So he's going to treat them as such based on his personality. So Loki isn't being singled out in that sense. He's being treated the same way as Sanji, Zoro, and the rest. But at the same time, I do think Imu is giving Loki extra attention, and that likely ties back to King Herald. Loki is the reason Imu lost him. And that loss clearly meant something. So instead of ending things quickly, Imu is taking his time with him. That said, I've got to give credit to Loki in the next part of the chapter. Because he does do a couple things. I'm just like, all right, bet. Like, bro is definitely up there.
What made you think of something specifically, so what you said about Haki and its willpower, and more specifically, what Lionel brought up earlier with what Rayleigh said about Haki, the fact that it's the act of not doubting. Do y'all think Loki's second attack was weaker just because, like, his reaction to the first attack being blocked so casually? Like, doubt started to creep into him. Like, oh, hold on. He just casually blocked this attack with no effort. You know what I mean? I don't know. My mind went there for a second there anyway. I don't think that's been, like, a highlighted thing throughout the history of One Piece. I don't know if it has been. I have to go back to, like, panels and choreography. But I don't know. I just thought that.
I'm not saying yeah. Sorry, Larry.
No. You guys go.
Because Ray says to never doubt. that is power. So that goes probably in the fact that you doubt, like even a little bit, even a smidge, might hinder or factor into your Haki, your fighting power or whatever. Beast has never done it. So your doubting is 0. It doesn't have a percentage. It's just 0. That's it. Again, Oda never elaborated on it. Ray just said that, but some of a fact, but it's still not fully explained in these certain moments. The only one you can think of is when Luffy lost his crew again against Kizaru. Like, those moments, Luffy legit doubted it straight. He thought he was weak. Those moments, yeah, but, like, those are heavy moments where, like, and maybe you could factor in that could be happening to Loki with how you viewed your father. This man took him out and how he treated him. And now you did your attack with the anger from what happened to your father. Now it gets blocked so easily. Those could be factored in him doubting a little bit because I'm facing a man who did this to my father, and now I'm not doing anything.
Honestly, I don't think so, especially with Loki. Because usually what I've seen with them, like I'm going to use Luffy too, when they throw out their best attack or a strong attack or whatever, and they see it get blocked and it does nothing, usually they kind of come back trying to battle it with something stronger. Like, all right, I need to put more Haki, more strength, more whatever. For Conquerors, I don't see doubt seeping in readily that fast. It'll take a lot to start creating this doubt or whatever in a Conqueror, where it's just like, all right, I just need more. I need more than that. I need more. Or like Luffy simply put, I'm going to get through eventually. Kid, all right, I'll chip away smallly at you, you know? So I think when they face it, like, it's blocked, like, all right, he took that, like, all right, I'll throw something else at you. I'm gonna win this fight eventually. That's usually what the Conqueror's mindset is. So I don't think it's gonna happen readily. It's gonna take a lot for them to get to that point where, like, oh, my punches ain't working out. I'm defeated now. Like, that doesn't usually happen with... Actually, most of the people in One Piece, it doesn't really happen, but I think especially with Conquerors. And that was actually a good shout-out for Larry. At one aspect, I still believe Loki is using events. It could be Conquerors or maybe not events, or it is, I'm not sure yet. But I will point out that usually when they do Split the Sky, I will acknowledge it's usually not someone blocking attack and someone defending.
It's two people clashing.
It's two people doing an attack, and then they clash like that. So I will say, yeah, like for Emu, he clearly blocked while Loki attacked. So there is a difference there. So that's a good shout out there.
I know so many people are like, yo, you don't know what you're talking about. And this is the point where, like, when I was proving it on screen, I was literally showing that there's different cases between different levels of Conquerors. And each time there was a crack in the middle of their space. There was like a literal black crack in between their spacing. And that was them also not touching at all. But that's never shown with Loki against Harold, because Harold obviously wasn't doing it. But also it wasn't shown against Emu, who's clearly blocking him. Yeah. So why wasn't that shown at all? And people can't even say, like, well, Oda's using a different type of effect to interpret that, because the Herald and Rocks thing was literally during this arc. So it's still viable to say, like, if that's not being shown, then this is not happening. The next portion of it is, if you look at Luffy versus Kaido, not only when Luffy starts using his advanced Conqueror's coding, he starts using it, but when he punches Kaido, he's punching a space that bends before Kaido's impact. That also happens with Big Mom versus Page 1. It's the exact same look for how one person who's just attacking another person is still bending the air. That's not happening with Loki. And Loki doesn't do that same thing against Harold either. So what I'm saying is, when you look at the consistency throughout the panels in manga, you can see that Loki's using Conqueror's Haki. He's just not using the advanced form of Conqueror's Haki, and the lightning is supplanting for that space. Now, when it comes to the sky splitting part, Sebastian has mentioned it takes a special person to do so. But then we also conversed and we found out maybe it also takes opposite ideals being in contention to split that sky. So we've never seen somebody who has used advanced Conqueror's coding between all the situations when they clash, that the sky didn't split apart or somehow be affected. So when you look at Emu and you look at Loki, and they're basically colliding, I would say. There's two skies. There's the Sun World's clouds, and then there's the clouds that Loki is changing with his powers that the lightning came from. The Sun World's clouds are not being affected. And also the clouds above them, we can't really see it, but we can tell that's not being affected either. And it's not being split, because I think Oda would have shown us, oh, this is splitting the sky. So that's what I mean. I'm not just saying to downplay Loki. I'm just saying there's evidence through many people, and that's just not being shown here right now with Loki.
Question though. How do you view Luffy's attack against Kaido when he was in the flame form?
Flame Dragon Torch?
The flame Dragon Torch, right? Because I believe Luffy was using everything. Because we saw that Luffy's able to do it. And I'm trying to remember, I don't remember seeing the crack there. But you're talking about like the crack happens when two people are colliding in that way, right? But Luffy's punching Kaido, right? And Luffy's obviously using all his Haki, his Conqueror's Coded, Advanced, all that. And he's hitting, and Kaido kind of says he's not going to block it, he's just going to take it. But Luffy, you clearly knows it hit Kaido without touching there. And I don't remember seeing a crack. So to me, it's like it makes sense because what you're saying before, that Kaido didn't block that. Or he didn't clash with it, or he didn't even block it either. He just kind of let it punch him in the face for whatever reason. That's Kaido, right? But I'm trying to say, is like, are you trying to say no matter what that crack happens, or it happens when you have two people meeting? That's their meeting point of someone matching it in like manner. Throwing get back at the person who's using all of it. The two clashes make that crack.
I'm looking at it right now, and you can't tell from the chapter that I'm looking at it right now when they first clash. It's 10:49. So Oda never shows us from an angle where it's from the side, the same way he did with Kaido and Luffy when they were fighting Hybrid Kaido. He didn't show it where Roger and Whitebeard were on the side as well. And also Harold and Rocks were on the side as well. When you look at it, you're looking at it from the bottom right of Kaido's point of view. And you're looking at Luffy. So you can't see the crack in between both of them that would usually be there. All it's showing is that they're not touching and there's Haki leakage coming out and affecting the sky. But I think it's affecting the sky because Luffy's in the sky and they clash near the clouds. That's why it's separating. But I can't give you a real answer on that one just because you can't see it. That's what I'm saying. Like we've had multiple panels. It would take for me to go, okay, that if that is true, then I have to see more panels like that. And I just haven't seen more panels like that. So the other variable is because Imu is blocking and not clashing, and also Harold was letting himself get teed off and not clashing either.
Right.
So there can't be any cracks. Yeah. But that's when you have to fall back on, well, one person clearly when using it bends the area before they hit the actual person they're attacking, which Big Mom has shown and Luffy has shown. But Loki's not doing that either. So it's like, okay, so when does he do it? Because he did it against Imu, he blocked, but he didn't do it against Harold, and Harold let him tee off on him. So
I get what you mean. Like when Big Mom punched Page 1.
Right. Yeah. So it's just multiple instances.